What if events went differently? What if Magneto and the Brotherhood of Mutants defeated Professor Xavier's X-Men in the very first installment of the X-Men universe? The first X-Men movie, which has been released over 2 decades ago, has helped cement the X-Men legacy on the screen. In today's fanfiction, Magneto would emerge as the final victor instead of Charles Xavier in the final act of the film. Without wasting any more time, let's dive right into this highly anticipated fanfiction. Our fanfiction begins with Jean Grey fixing the Cerebro and ultimately learned that Magneto had plans to place his mutation-inducing machine on Liberty Island to mutate the world's leaders meeting at the summit of the nearby Ellis Island. The X-Men would then scale the Statue of Liberty and a fierce battle would break out between them and the Brotherhood of Mutants. In the original timeline, Wolverine managed to distract Magneto and Cyclops blasted him away, allowing Wolverine to destroy the machine. However, in this universe, as Wolverine was attempted to distract Magneto, Magneto used his powers to control Wolverine as Wolverine's body was filled with adamantium. Magneto then controlled Wolverine and hurled him towards Cyclops. Cyclops had to save Wolverine in the process. This prevented him from being able to destroy the mutation-inducing machine. With no one to bother him, Magneto then started up the machine and transferred his powers to Rogue. The mutation eventually spreaded around the world leaders who were having the meeting at Ellis Island. However, as Rogue's mutant powers were too strong, the mutation eventually spread even further to other normal civilians. Some of their bodies rejected the mutation and they eventually dissolved, like Senator Kelly, while others eventually mutated and developed their own superpowers. One of the machines was charged up and Rogue eventually died as the process was too much for her body to take. The X-Men could only watch in horror as they saw people melting into liquid or changing into mutants. There were only some who were still resistant to the mutation and eventually fled. Magneto smiled as he was proud of his work and at the same time has now come for the mutants to rule over the humans. Charles was still in a coma and the X-Men decided that the best course of action is to retreat and regroup. Mystique then transferred herself into Senator Kelly and she made an appearance in front of the group leaders. Using the disguise as the senator, she abolished the Mutant Registration Act, which was originally supposed to force mutants to reveal their abilities. With many normal humans and several world leaders already becoming mutants, she then elected Magneto as the leader of the mutants officially. Magneto and his Brotherhood of Mutants entered the White House and seized control. Mutants became the superior race and humans were being looked down as inferiors, a reversal of what's supposed to happen to the mutant race in the original timeline. Magneto wanted more progress and natural evolution of Homo sapiens into Homo superior, by which he wanted 50% of the global population to be mutants. As of now, only the United States of America was infected with his mutation machine. As Rogue has died, he needed to research for another catalyst to charge it up. The humans who were not mutated were being treated badly by the other mutants. Mutants who were in hiding for years took advantage to seek revenge against those that oppressed them previously. The entire USA was in a chaos, but Magneto and his Brotherhood of Mutants were pleased with the outcome. Meanwhile, Charles has already recovered from a coma and was horrified to learn what has happened to the world. They wanted to attack and overthrow Magneto, but Charles said that doing so would not be able to reverse the humans and who would become mutants from his machine. Even if they did defeat him, with the machine still intact, they could always replicate the results countless times. Elsewhere, in a secret military base were the US soldiers and high-ranking officers who were not affected with the mutation and they were regrouping. They said that several decades ago, a head scientist named Bolivar Trask created a program called the Sentinel Program. However, it was kept in the dark as they were not certain if it would be successful or not. They decided to put it into motion, the Sentinel Program. Several of the government high-ranking assassins managed to track down Mystique in the White House, who was in her mutant form. They waited to ambush her as their aim was to at least get some of her blood samples of her, since her mutant abilities allow her to morph into anybody. She managed to escape the assassins, but not before her leg was shot. Fleeing the area, the assassins retrieved the blood sample and left. Since then, a year has passed, and the mutant government under Magneto is still going strong. Over 60% of the population has turned into mutants. Magneto aims to make the world transfer into full-fledged mutants, but he was still searching for a suitable catalyst. The X-Men were still regrouping and aiding humans who were being terrorized by the mutants who abused their powers. Wolverine said that the future looks bleak as they are heavily outnumbered by Magneto's Brotherhood. Just then, the X-Men received news that several huge flying robots were in the sky. The robots were attacking the mutants. At first, Magneto felt like those robots were harmless and would stand no chance against the mutants. The robots, dubbed as the Sentinels, were able to adapt to nearly every mutant power. A massive onslaught of the mutants began, and the humans used the advantage to rebel against Magneto. He was unsure of the threat he was facing. Charles told the X-Men that he remembered hearing of a secret military program called the Sentinel Program, which was originally done to destroy mutants, but it disappeared. It seems like the Sentinels are back in action. Over a week of terror and war erupted between the mutants and the human resistance with the Sentinels. Charles said that this was hell that they couldn't even imagine. Just then, a portal emerged, and an Aboriginal man appeared from the portal. He introduced himself as Bishop, a time traveler from around 8 decades in the future. He said that there was an even more graver danger in the future that occurred because of the Sentinels that were active now. Mutant concentration camps were emerging. Anti-human and anti-mutant camps would be everywhere, and wars between mutants and man would go on for decades to come. Even more, he said that in the future, because of the events that were triggered from here, Charles's insane son, Legion, from the future would go back in time to assassinate Magneto. This was because he wanted his father to achieve the human-mutant coexistence. Legion also wanted his father to emerge victorious and not Magneto from the beginning. As he traveled back in time and wanted to kill Magneto, Charles would sacrifice himself saving Magneto. By accidentally killing his father, the horrified Legion prevented his own birth and ceased to exist. The death of Xavier created a catastrophe alternate timeline, the Age of Apocalypse, a timeline where the god mutant Apocalypse was an even bigger threat than Magneto, and not all of the X-Men united could stop him. Millions of humans and mutants would be slaughtered by Apocalypse himself. Bishop was sent back in time by the X-Men of that era to stop this from happening. Bishop needed to prevent Magneto from ever activating the mutant machine in the first place a year ago. Only then could the Apocalypse timeline be avoided. But to do that, Magneto himself must prevent himself from the past from doing it, meaning that only Magneto's consciousness can prevent the entire catastrophe. Charles and Wolverine told Bishop that even if they did travel back in time, now itself, the Sentinels have already been in motion and there isn't anything that can be done. Bishop said that they needed to fight with Magneto and convince him of everything that is happening. The X-Men decided that it was now or never. They attacked the White House and a battle between the Brotherhood and the X-Men broke out. Charles and Wolverine were facing off with Magneto. Outside the White House, Sentinels were killing the other mutants, and Charles and Wolverine told Magneto of the future that happened from this timeline. Magneto refused to believe and thought that they wanted to trick him. A psionic blast blasted Magneto a few meters away. He got up and was about to attack Bishop before Bishop pointed his gun at his face. He then told Magneto of the truth and held Magneto's hand. Magneto saw of the Apocalypse, Hell, and Charles sacrificing himself in the future. Magneto told Charles that all he wanted was for mutants to have a fair right and not hellish world like this. Bishop said that they needed to hurry as any more delay would cause him to disappear from the future. Magneto said that he and Charles are still enemies, but seeing how he would sacrifice himself in the future made him remember how they used to be friends. Bishop told Eric that only he would be aware of this timeline and the history. They went back to the original timeline 1 year ago, where the X-Men were battling the Brotherhood of Mutants at the Statue of Liberty. Wolverine confronts and distracts Magneto. Cyclops blasts him away, allowing Wolverine to destroy the machine. He transfers his powers to Rogue, and his healing abilities reject her, while incapacitating himself. Like the original timeline, Professor Xavier and Wolverine recover from their comas. Xavier gives Wolverine a lead to his past at an abandoned military institution in Canada. Magneto is imprisoned into a complex construction of plastic and is visited by Xavier. And Magneto warns him he intends to escape one day and continue to fight. Magneto said that there is a big bigger threat in the near future, but until then, they will remain as frenemies. Charles was surprised but managed to read his mind temporarily and was shocked to see the other timeline. He just smiled and moved away. In the near future, Apocalypse's timeline was reset, and Bishop was glad that peace in both timelines were made. And that is going to be What If Magneto Had Won in X-Men 2000. That is going to be it for this fan fiction. If you guys did enjoy the first Fox X-Men What If, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and request down below which one you guys think I should do in the future. But anyways, as always guys, thanks for tuning in and have a fantastic day.